played the stage was around dusk, which is not the most favorable time to play a solar stage.
No.
A solar-powered stage.
No.
It kind of turned itself off as it was going along.
Yeah, that was probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. This is probably the 4th time you've been on this stage, or third time, 4th time.
Yes, sir.
And what we try to do is we try to talk about social consciousness, because so much of what Ben has been doing and has done in the past has been social consciousness songs, involving a message in the songs. And I guess my first question for you is artists don't have to do that. A lot of artists just decide they want to go entertain people. And some artists decide that there's part of them that wants to include a message in some of their work. What was it about your life where you decided to make that happen and make that decision?
Well, you know, I have to go back because I grew up in a family of musicians. I grew up playing bluegrass music. I grew up basically in a world that where everybody kind of jammed and you wrote songs for each other and whatever. It's much more of a social atmosphere. And I do understand that what you said about some artists don't need or don't have to put a message in their song. And I never really feel like I'm inserting a message into a song. It's just where I'm coming from, and that's what I care about as a person. And I can't write music about things I don't necessarily care about as a person. The songs don't even finish themselves. So in that way, I never feel like I'm trying to write a topical song as much as I'm trying to write a song about something that I care about.
When you were growing up, would there be discussions in your house about political issues or social issues?
No. Maybe that's why I feel like maybe that's why I feel like I need to do a lot of like advocacy work for things, you know, on the side of being on stage. But there are things that I care about in my life that I feel like I do need to talk about from the stage because I care about them that much. Like it wouldn't make any sense to not say something about them, because, you know, things like mountaintop removal, strip mining, things about livability infrastructure so that people can ride their bikes and be and foster greater community. Those type of things, I care a lot about them, and I don't see any reason why not to mention them from the stage.
Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely deserves applause.
Okay, nice.
You know, I think in terms of if there was a first hit for Ben Sollee, I would say it had to be A Few Honest Words, at least in my mind.
A hit, huh?
A hit. In my mind.
Well, it was already a hit out there. It's so funny, I recorded that song, and as we were getting it ready to put out into the world, NPR had a huge feature on Sam Cooke. And they called it his most iconic song, and I said, oh no, what have I done? Because I had just gotten finished recording and mastering it with different words and a completely different feel. But the thing that I liked about the song that I wanted to take and continue on in the story is his optimism for humans. He never looked at humans as essentially bad people. He looked at them as essentially good, even though he went through a lot of really tough stuff. He said, it's been along, and no matter what happens, a change is going to come, because it is consistent.
Yeah!
Turning to Dear Companion, can you tell us a little bit about how that album came about?
Nice.
Yeah, I think that they got the cuckoo clock to work.
That's pretty much it. Well, I was thinking about how to, I had this collection of songs that I'd written that were definitely focusing on Appalachia and the issue, and I was thinking about how to do that and how to get that out there, and I knew it wouldn't make any sense to just do it as one person, because I wanted it to be much more of a collective thing. And so I ended up getting in touch with Daniel Martin Moore on MySpace, and then I saw that he'd already been involved with an organization, Kentuckians for the Commonwealth, out of Kentucky, that do a lot of great work with Appalachia. And he'd written a song called Fly Rock Blues, which is a beautiful, beautiful tune. And I just kind of got in touch with him. We got together a few times and said, well, let's do a record around this. And called up Jim, who's a fellow Kentuckian, who I already knew, and we had conversations about, gosh, how are we going to get the word out about this?
I'm sorry, when you say Jim, you mean Jim James?
I mean Jim James, yeah, from My Morning Jacket, for those of you all know. I didn't get to see them, although there was a lot of people out there last night. There was a lot of people out there. So we put it out, and we wanted to make not a protest record, we wanted to make a record that focused on our feeling that Appalachia had influenced us a lot, and our deep feeling that we don't want to lose all the cultural heritage there.
Yeah, it's funny, on Thursday we screened The Last Mountain in the Cinema Tent as part of green screens, and Bobby Kennedy Jr. came in, and it's a fantastic movie. For those of you that haven't seen it, it just hit theaters last week in limited release. If you go see it in those theaters, the release will be expanded, and it's an important movie about this very issue that you're talking about. But the one thing that resonates most with me is, while I can be upset about how the mining industry has totally subverted the law, as a lawyer I can be upset about that, what upsets me most as a music fan is that the culture of Appalachia is being decimated by this practice, where your kind of music and a lot of the other musicians that people are seeing here this weekend, people like Mumford and Sons and people like Abigail Washburn and people like Bela Fleck, that entire line of music, that heart of America is being totally trashed by this practice.
It is being trashed, and it's the hardest part is, yes, the mountains are being removed by explosives, and yes, that causes a lot of damage, but it's also really hard to live. I mean, think about it. There's explosions going off about 8 to 12 times a day. That shakes your ground. People's foundations of their houses get cracked. A lot of times their water will either fall out from under them completely, so they don't have running water anymore, or it'll become really polluted with heavy metals. They're having to deal with the coal trucks on the roads and like really poor infrastructure, because these coal trucks are often overloaded and make the roads really dangerous. Lots of people are dying from just coal trucks knocking them off the road. I mean, it's one of those things where they really struggle to make it all happen there, and it's easy to forget that people are helping produce the power. It's not some magical thing that just turns on.
Well, why don't we do another song? How's that?
Huh?
How about another song?
Oh, sure.